put an end to the main cause of what's wrong with the world, capitalism and big business rule. The theme of this conference is Their Crisis, Our Solutions. From the oil-polluted Gulf of Mexico to the nuclear disaster in Japan, from flooded farms in Manitoba and Quebec to the polar ice caps, the world is heading towards an environmental catastrophe that will victimize billions of people. To save humanity and all species, to save the world as we know it, we need a radical break from the dominant mode of production and consumption. The capitalist system has nothing to offer but disasters aplenty and untold suffering. The workers' solutions are not about saving the system at the expense of the majority, but fighting for empowerment and change that will, in the words of Solidarity Forever, bring to birth a new world from the ashes of the old. Today we see the rise of rebellions against austerity, dictatorship, and war, all across North America, North Africa to the Persian Gulf, from the shanty towns of Latin America to the streets of Athens, from Cairo to Wisconsin. Workers, farmers, women, seniors, and youth are saying enough is enough. The system has got to go. This conference is dedicated to the Great Arab Awakening, to the fight for indigenous rights, to the locked-out steelworkers of Hamilton fighting to defend pensions and jobs, to the postal workers who has just voted 95% for a strike mandate against concessions, and to the workers of Wisconsin and Ohio defending their unions. This conference is dedicated to the 4.5 million voters in Quebec and across English Canada who turned left on May 2nd and made the NDP the official opposition. The struggle is just beginning. We will oust the Tories, defeat the neoliberal agenda, and establish eco-socialism, feminism, and workers' power. My name is Elizabeth Bice, and I'm a retired member of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. I'm Federal Treasurer of the NDP Socialist Caucus and a leading member of Socialist Action and your chair for this conference. We are delighted to have our sister parties in the United States, Socialist Action USA, and in Mexico, the Socialist Unity League, LUS, co-sponsor this great gathering. Currently, Socialist Action in Canada is celebrating its 17th anniversary. I hope you enjoy this session and the entire conference. Please take the opportunity to visit our display table, buy some great literature, subscribe to our monthly newspaper, Socialist Action, the best publication of its kind in North America. Today, the world is in turmoil. The turmoil is caused by a decaying, oppressive, and outmoded system. But change is in the air. If you want to change the world, now is the time to get involved. We warmly invite you to join Socialist Action. And if any time during the conference you decide you would like to join, please approach any one of our leading members. And now I hope we're all ready to learn, to discuss, and to have a great time. So let's proceed with Socialism 2011. So our session this evening is End the Occupations. We have two marvelous speakers. We have Comrade Christine Gauvreau, and she's a leading member of Socialist Action USA, based in Hartford, Connecticut. She is a steering committee member of the United Nations National Anti-War Committee, a longtime feminist activist, and a spokesperson for Connecticut United for Peace, and many, 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 many more hats, I'm sure. And our other speaker is Comrade Khaled. Mouammar has served on the executive of the Arab-Palestine Association, the Arab Community Center, and the Canadian Ethno-Cultural Council. Since 2005, he has served on the Ontario Committee for Fairness in Policing, the Coalition Against Israeli War Crimes, and the Coalition Against Israeli Apartheid. He is currently president of the Canadian Arab Federation. Khaled is committed to fighting for the right of the Palestinian people to return to their homeland. The federal Conservative government cut funding to the Canadian Arab Federation Immigrant Settlement Program because Khaled said that the immigration minister, Jason Kenney, is a whore for the Zionist state. Yeah. If anything, that's an understatement. So join me in warmly welcoming both of our speakers, and our first speaker will be Comrade Khaled.
Thank you. Good evening, brothers and sisters. This is a long subject to talk about, but I hope that all of us will be able to contribute to the discussion. What is happening these days is something of historic value, in the sense that we see revolutions and uprisings in many Arab countries, in North Africa, in the Arabian Gulf. And this is just a continuation of imperialists' designs which have been going on for centuries. In the past, it was the rape of the Americas by colonial powers like Portugal, Spain, and Britain, France, even Germany. And lately, in the 18th and 19th century, it was Britain and France who were the main colonial powers in Africa and Asia. And now that mantle has been taken over by the United States. And always, imperialists look for resources, natural resources that they can take freely, exploit, to benefit their businesses and corporations. The Arab world has become a strategic importance to the West, starting in the middle of the 19th century, when people in Britain and France realized that the eastern and southern Mediterranean was inhabited by people who spoke mainly the same language and who mainly had the same religion, and they feared that if that area became united and strong, it would be competing with them in their control of African colonies and other places. So they were contemplating, even at that time, creating some kind of a buffer within the Arab world which will prevent this kind of unity. Because it spanned all of North Africa and Asia. So it was a link between these two continents. And when oil was discovered at the turn of the 20th century, that became even much more important, because at present, 75% of all the oil reserves are found in the Arab world. However, they only provide 50% of the world use of oil. So that means this is the only area in the world where whenever there is an increase in the demand of oil, they can tap into the Arab countries, because they have most of the reserves of the world. And this explains why these things have happened recently in Iraq, the occupation of Iraq. The NATO attacks now against Libya were not really to help the revolution there, but to ensure that this regime, which was not very malleable, which did not obey them fully, can be replaced by some regime which can fully satisfy their requirements. Europe at present imports more than 90% of its oil from Libya. Another reason, and another explanation for that is what happened in southern Sudan. It's true that the regime in Sudan was an oppressive regime, but the West, especially the United States, encouraged the secession movement there, because most of the oil was located in the south, and China imported 1/3 of its crude oil from southern Sudan. So they wanted to make sure that they will be able to control the oil themselves. The United States wanted to make sure. So for them, the control of oil resources for the United States has become a major economic tool that can be used against Europe, China, or India in the future if these become economic powers threatening the US economy. And that's why the US control of the Arab regimes is very critical for its interest and for its economy. And they have been able to do that by having at least bases in half of the Arab countries. They have military bases, navies, air force, men on the ground in countries like Iraq, Bahrain, Qatar, Jordan, Djibouti, Oman, Israel, which is Kuwait, in the Sinai in Egypt, in even Morocco, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. So all of those bases are there to ensure that that U.S. economic interests, oil control of the area will remain protected. Now, another component of this U.S. strategy is to ensure that there is always an enemy that they have to fight. With the collapse of the Soviet Union, they needed to create another enemy because you have to justify all these armaments. The U.S. spends more than 50% of all the arm expenditures in the world are spent by the United States itself. So they need to justify why they are spending all this money to have all these bases around the world by saying there's an enemy. And now the enemy is Islam. Islamic fundamentalism is the enemy, and therefore you find force is used to justify that. In Iraq, they said Saddam has weapons of mass destruction. He was helping Al-Qaeda, which was all lies. They even spread the rumor that he was behind the attacks on the Twin Towers. And this is why also they are ensuring that Iran becomes, the major threat. They keep playing on that. Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran is a threat because they want to control all the oil, and Iran is the only oil-producing country in the whole Gulf area which is not under their control right now. They control Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Iran, all of those countries which have oil. Oman. Iran is the only country left without their control, and they fear that this thing might spread from Iran into the Gulf states. And that's why the reaction to the revolt in Bahrain was different from the reaction to the revolt in Libya. They did not even try to condemn Saudi Arabia for sending troops, outside troops coming into a country to muzzle a revolt. In the case of Libya, they said Gaddafi was killing his own people. But here you have Saudi Arabian troops coming into Bahrain, killing Bahrainis, and the US said nothing because for them, they have a major base in Bahrain, and also for them, their fear of the spreading of the revolution to Saudi Arabia, which is the major oil reserve producing country. So another component of the strategy of the US is helping the creation and the maintenance of Israel, because Israel fills that ideology which has been always in the West, to ensure that the Arabs remain weak, divided, and fighting between themselves. It really created a wedge between North Africa and Asia. At the same time, it ensured that the major Arab country, which is Egypt, which is 1/4 of all the Arabs, which is the most unified, homogeneous country, which has the potential always to unify the Arabs, would be split from the Gulf area. And 2/3 of the people of the Arab world live in North Africa, actually, not in the Asian part, which has all the oil. So this is a historic struggle, between the Arab people and the U.S. empire. It's a struggle where there's no win-win situation. One has to win, one has to lose. So it's going to be a very bloody one. And the other thing that they fear is that this revolution, which is these uprisings, these popular uprisings, if they spread into Israel, then that will also get rid of their base in the area.
Agreed. And they have, but only actually, well.